Some more very big tariff threats coming from Donald Trump today, this time for Canadian aircraft. Let's unwind with John Gradek. He's an aviation expert, and he joins us now to talk about this. John, thanks for joining us today.
Good afternoon, Marilla.
How did you take this threat to decertify some Canadian aircraft?
Oh, I think that this is a commercial spat that's developing between Gulfstream and Bombardier. Bombardier has been outperforming Gulfstream sales in the U.S. significantly with the 7,000, the 7,500, and now with the 8,000. Our friends at Gulfstream are not very happy with this competition, and they managed to get their audience with the president to come up with some wording in a missive last night on Truth Social that put the blame of this uncompetitive situation on the hands of Transport Canada certification.
Yeah.
So it really was a commercial spat that's kind of blown out of proportion at this point in time.
He's making accusations, as you said, about Canada dragging its heels essentially on Gulfstream Jet's approval. How long does this process typically take?
Oh, it could take years. The Gulfstream 700 and the Gulfstream 800, have been launched many years ago. It took the U.S. FAA 4 years to really go through all of the hoops and bells and whistles that are required to certify that airplane. So it's a long process, especially when you bring in new equipment, new technologies, new systems on board, which the Gulfstream did, as did Bombardier. And so it's a long process. The regulators got to do their job, and Transport Canada is doing its job, with a lot of diligence. It's not that they don't trust the FAA in terms of their certification, but I think Canada is taking the right road in taking its time to make sure that this airplane is safe to operate and carry passengers in Canada.
So would you say Ottawa's dragging its heels?
Excuse me?
Would you say Ottawa's dragging its heels on this?
Yeah, the issue seems to be fuel, right, on board the airplane, on the Gulfstream airplanes, and I think that the fuel situation needs to be addressed. I think the U.S. and the Europeans have allowed this airplane to be certified with exemptions. So the exceptions was, make sure this airplane is, as far away from cold weather as it possibly can in order to prevent freezing up of the fuel systems. So that's where we're in a situation where Canada says that's not an acceptable process. We don't deal with exceptions. Fix the airplane, please, Gulfstream. And when it's fixed, come back and we'll certify it.
Got it. Okay, so there is an actual reason given for perhaps this approval going a little bit slowly. Would it make sense for the U.S. to stop bringing in aircraft from Canada? What would that impact look like?
Oh, the question you have to ask yourself, for the U.S. to kind of back off what they've done in this latest mess, there's still that 50% tariff that is hanging over Bombardier airplanes. That would be a death knell, from in my opinion, to Bombardier. It would be something that would price their airplanes out of the market completely, and yet open the door for Gulfstream to recapture some of its lost market share. But I think that that's still a question mark. Is the tariff going to be real, or do we have another situation where the president might just back away from doing the tariff?
You mentioned that the Bombardier aircrafts are popular in the U.S. How popular? How many of these do they sell? Can you give me an idea of how much the U.S. relies on them?
Oh, these airplanes are bestsellers. Bombardier has sold hundreds of these airplanes over the last few years, and I think that you look at there are fractional jet fleets that are around there. You have some charter jet fleets. And the most of the sales to those fleets have been Bombardier airplanes. It's a beautiful airplane. It's comfortable. It's spacious, and it's got high ceilings. It's got electronics and components, and just the general building style of the airplane is so much different than Gulfstream. So Gulfstream is seriously behind the times when it comes to a competitive aircraft to Bombardier.
Melanie Joly, the minister, has said she thinks this can be resolved. How do you see it resolving itself?
That's a good question. I think that, there's been a lot of rhetoric going around in the last 18 hours or 20 hours about this event. And I think that Cooler heads have to prevail. I think Transport Canada has been instructed not to comment. I think Bombardier is keeping its comments to itself in this area because they know that it doesn't add any. It'll just add fuel to the fire. We're trying to solve this thing through political channels as best as we can, and I think that we might be in a situation where Canada, where Canada might have to, in fact, pull a proposed retaliatory action to get the Trump administration to really take us seriously, that this is not the right way to go about developing, a North American aerospace market. I think that I've been talking today about potentially looking at trying to stop U.S. commercial aircraft from using Canadian airspace. And that's wholly within the Canadian government's capability to do that. But that would certainly send a message to Mr. Trump, would send a message to the American population that, you need Canada. You need Canada to basically make sure that your economy and your travels arrangements are made. And, exercising our sovereign rights over Canadian airspace is something that's definitely within our capabilities.
John Gradek, I'm going to leave it there, sir. John is an aviation management, supply chain management lecturer at McGill University. Thanks for that.